What's good, Shalotron here, and we're back at it again with a brand new edition of Top 5 Songs, where I rank my top 5 songs from an album and give a few reasons why I have them listed the way I do. Now, today's top 5 comes from Bobby Tarantino 2, the 7th mixtape from Maryland rapper Logic. Now, if you don't know who Logic is a biracial rapper out of Maryland, known for fast flows, positivity, long album skits, and a couple other things that we'll get to later on in the video. Now, in the scope of the rap game, Logic is a pretty interesting character. He's won an MTV Video Music Award, and he's been nominated for 2 Grammys. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the top 5 from Bobby Tarantino 2. On top of a 10 bands interpolated beat, Logic comes through with some crazy energy on Yuck. He starts off the song with a few flex bars before getting into the real meat of the track. He appears to take shots at notorious beef seeker Joyner Lucas, saying that Joyner only started a beef with Logic because Joyner can't create his own buzz. Which is pretty interesting because Joyner Lucas is actually a pretty talented rapper who seems to only generate buzz when he comes after other rappers. The best example of this is when Joyner Lucas took very obvious shots at Lil Pump on his Gucci Gang remix and then quickly backed off saying it wasn't a diss and that he was actually a fan of Lil Pump, even though in the song he had bars wondering why people ever even liked Lil Pump, calling him a carbon copy, and nothing more than a drug addict. Either way, Yuck is a really fun song with one really great bar aimed at Joyner Lucas, incidentally. Catch beef with Logic, yeah, they praying that I respawned. If I did, I dead you in this game with no respawn. Then Logic goes to talk about peace, love, and positivity. Every Day is an infectious poppy cut with EDM producer Marshmello, who's really been recognizing the times and has started doing a lot more production for bigger name rappers. And while I do really like the clean production on this, can I just say that whenever I see these EDM dudes doing collabs with rappers, I really wish the pair would take the opportunity to really blend the two styles more rather than make a song with really high distortion on one synth, really high reverb on another, and trap production. That said, I really do like this cut, and Logic shows that singing is definitely not out of his wheelhouse. The song has a really positive message, and if it ends and you're not 100% sure of the frequency that Logic works hard, you might want to contact the warranty provider of your headphones. Seriously though, buy the damn warranty. It's literally always worth it. Wizard of Oz starts off with a really catchy D2 melody, and right when Logic finishes spitting one of the more memorable bars on this whole tape, "Bitch, I've been running my city like I'm the Wizard of Oz," some hard-hitting kicks come in and you can't help but nod your head. But that's not why this is my 3rd favorite song on the project. Right before the 1 minute mark, a filtered harp, it sounds like, comes in, and Wizard of Oz becomes a Travis Scott song. And I don't think I'm taking a shot by saying this, because at one point Logic even uses one of Travis's iconic ad-libs in the exact same way that Travis does. But I'm not mad about this at all for 2 important reasons. 1, I really like Travis Scott. And 2, I really like seeing people be fiscally responsible. I'm sure Logic saved a lot of money by just skipping the middleman and saying, let me just go ahead and do this Travis Scott feature myself. What's Up has both the best beat and the best feature on Bobby Tarantino 2. Big Sean kills his verse, and Logic definitely does not disappoint. With bars like, "Big boy money Uncle Phil here, only fresh prints in my pockets, trying to get paid in full, call me sire like Jaden Fool, that is my power of will, that's just the power I feel," Logic flexes some of his most impressive wordplay on this track. Although I will admit, I'm kind of confused why he chose to use the same Dust the Soundboy sample by Super Beagle that Kanye used in Mercy. I mean, is it just because Big Sean's on the song? And I also noticed that he triggered the stutter effect on his voice in the same way it was done on Mercy. But I guess I don't really care that much. It's not that distracting. And the song's good in all phases, so I don't have a big problem with it at all. What I do have a problem with, though, is that this track will probably go forgotten and severely underrated amongst some of the more poppy cuts on this project.
You're talking about Logic, and I'm talking about that titty rap. Just why don't we meet in the middle with some Bobby Tarantino? I need it. Just need to hear it. It's pretty good.
Don't check your glasses. Your screen's working perfectly. You definitely read that right. The #1 song on Bobby Tarantino 2 is Grandpa's Spaceship. This intro track is such a big breath of fresh air from Logic that on my first listen it gave me really high hopes and a lot of optimism for Logic's future for a lot of reasons. No cap, I'm not trolling. This intro features impressions from cartoon characters Rick and Morty. You probably know the show. And in it, Rick is lamenting that Morty wants to listen to the album Logic, and Rick is saying he doesn't want to listen to all that positivity, equality, I can be whatever I want to be. He wants to hear that trap, titties, booty, all that kind of stuff, kind of music. And he wants to hear something to turn up to. And Morty's saying that even though there is a difference between his albums and a mixtape, Logic still turns up on his albums. It's a pretty funny piece where Logic acknowledges that he does stylize his tapes and albums a little bit differently, while also throwing subliminal shots at fans who would criticize or even care that he does this. If Logic's self-aware enough and has heard this enough from his critics to feel like he needed to address this on his project, then maybe he's self-aware enough to address another perceived flaw that a lot of hip-hop heads have with him. In a 2015 interview, Logic claims that he doesn't see taking another artist's flow as stealing as long as you feel inspired by the artist, and he uses Drake as an example, and it's not 100% clear whether he's saying it's cool that Drake does it, or if he's really more saying, well, if you're on my case about it, then why are you not on Drake? And keeping a Bowberry Biscuit, it kind of feels like he's that one kid in class who gets caught on his phone and then gets all offensive like, oh, why are you just singling me out? Don't you see Tony, Kelsey, RJ, Rico, and Russell with their phones out? So Letitia goes and takes up everyone's phone until the bell rings. Point is, this level of self-awareness, paired with him feeling like he needed to address it on his tape, makes me feel like it's the very first step to change. What really gets me is that Logic truly has an interesting and raw story to tell. He's great with wordplay, he's great with delivery, but it just gets distracting to the point of a little bit off-putting when I hear beats or flows that sound so similar to the point of I'm just thinking whether am I listening to a Logic album or a various artists compilation album covered by Logic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the man can't have inspirations because every artist, be it a music artist, a poet, a visual artist, everyone has inspirations that they draw from. I just want to hear a full Logic project where the inspiration isn't so far pushed to the forefront. Either way, this is a pretty good tape, and if you're not a hardcore hip-hop head, then most of what I just said probably won't matter to you in the least. Let me know why I'm a hating ass bitch in the comments below. You already know what to do with that like button. If I hurt your feelings, do what you must. But before you do that, make sure you slap this button to subscribe and steal this button's flow over here to watch more videos. Namaste.